He had everything and lost 10,000 men. His rival had half the resources and won 12 battles in the same week. September 25, 1944. Winston Churchill stares at a casualty report that makes no sense, and the numbers will shatter his faith in one of Britain's most decorated commanders. This is the story of a fuel allocation decision that exposed the brutal truth about leadership, ego, and what it actually takes to win a war. One general demanded everything and delivered disaster. Another took scraps and produced victory after victory. The confrontation that followed would reshape Allied strategy and prove that resources don't win wars. The right commander does. The war rooms beneath 10 Downing Street are quieter than they've been in months. For the first time since 1939, victory feels possible. France is liberated. Allied armies are pressing toward the Rhine. Churchill stands at the map table reviewing reports from the front. Operation Market Garden, Field Marshal Montgomery's plan to seize bridges across the Netherlands and leap the Rhine, has been underway for 8 days. Montgomery assured everyone it would end the war by Christmas. But something feels wrong. A and 8 enters carrying a folder marked urgent. Churchill opens it. His face changes. The teacup in his hand stops halfway to his lips. Operation Market Garden casualties. 10,000 British soldiers in 9 days. The bridge at Arnhem that was supposed to unlock Germany remains in German hands. The 1st Airborne Division, elite paratroopers expecting relief in 2 days, fought surrounded for 9 days. Out of 10,000 men who went in, only 2,000 came back. Total territorial gain, 64 miles. Strategic objectives achieved. 0. Churchill asks for another report. The one about General Patton. Same time frame. September 17th through 25th. 3rd Army, operating 200 miles south, received 700 tons of fuel per day. Exactly half what Montgomery got. The results make Churchill read the numbers 3 times. Patton's forces captured 12 fortified cities. They crossed 3 rivers under fire. They advanced 60 miles through defended territory. They took 45,000 German prisoners. 3rd Army casualties, 100. Churchill removes his glasses. He's looking at 2 simultaneous operations. Montgomery received absolute priority. Every truck, every gallon of fuel, every supply shipment went north to Market Garden. Patton had been complaining for weeks about being starved while Montgomery got everything. Yet these numbers suggest Patton achieved more with half the support. Much more. Churchill knows what this means. Montgomery has been arguing since D-Day that the Allies should concentrate all resources on a single thrust under his command. Market Garden was supposed to prove him right. It's done the opposite. Churchill calls Eisenhower. The conversation is tense. Churchill wants to know how the general who demanded everything produced catastrophe while the general with half the fuel is knocking on Germany's door. Eisenhower's answer is careful, talking about different operational contexts. Churchill cuts him off. Patton faced SS Panzer divisions at Nancy. The terrain in Lorraine was worse than Holland. He doesn't accept excuses. What Churchill writes in his diary that night is more direct. He's watched Montgomery plan with meticulous care, demand perfect conditions, then proceed cautiously. He's watched Patton move like lightning, adapt to chaos, accept risk, and win with whatever he could scrounge. The difference isn't resources. It's the men commanding them. Montgomery treats war like chess that can be controlled through preparation. Patton treats it like a knife fight where speed matters more than perfect planning. British newspapers get the Market Garden casualty figures within 48 hours. Someone leaked them. The questions are brutal. Why did we give Montgomery everything while Patton was starved? Why did 10,000 men die for nothing? Churchill schedules a visit to France. He wants to see both fronts. Montgomery's sector is carefully organized. Supply depots are efficient. Everything looks professional. But there's no momentum. The advance has stopped. Montgomery shows Churchill maps and explains how the operation would have succeeded if the weather had cooperated, if intelligence had been better, if the Polish paratroopers had dropped on schedule. Churchill listens and thinks about the 2,000 paratroopers who didn't come back. Then he visits Patton's headquarters in Nancy, a city that was German-held 2 weeks ago. The atmosphere is completely different. Barely organized chaos. Units moving constantly. Patton planning the next advance before the current one finishes. His staff working with fuel shortages that would paralyze most operations. And yet they're winning. Churchill asks how he captured 12 cities with 700 tons of fuel daily. Patton's answer is blunt. You keep moving. You don't stop to build the perfect plan. You hit them fast, hit them again, and keep pressure on until they break. Churchill returns to London and calls a meeting. Montgomery is there. Eisenhower. Staff officers. The tension is obvious. Churchill asks Montgomery to explain why Market Garden failed while Patton succeeded. Montgomery's response is defensive. Unexpected German resistance. SS Panzer Division's intelligence missed. Weather problems. Churchill stops him. The intelligence about German armor was in your briefings. Dutch resistance warned you. You dismissed it. Montgomery tightens. The intelligence was inconclusive. Churchill leans forward. Then explain your judgment. You had 1,400 tons of fuel daily. Complete air superiority. Elite troops. Absolute priority. And you lost 10,000 men for a bridge you didn't capture. George Patton took 12 cities and 45,000 prisoners with half your fuel. How? The room goes silent. Montgomery tries to argue the situations aren't comparable, that his objective was more ambitious. Churchill cuts him off. He reads from a report. Montgomery's forces advanced 7 miles daily, consuming 1,400 tons of fuel. Patton advanced 6.6 miles, consuming 700 tons. Almost identical territorial gain. But Patton captured 12 cities and destroyed divisions while taking minimal casualties. Montgomery lost an entire airborne division and achieved nothing. Churchill's voice is cold. If I had to choose between a general who needs everything and delivers nothing, and a general who takes anything and delivers victory, which should I choose? Montgomery doesn't answer. He sits rigid, jaw clenched. Eisenhower tries to calm things, talking about Allied unity. Churchill acknowledges the political reality. He can't fire Montgomery without creating a British crisis. But his decision is clear. Montgomery retains command, but his influence is over. The single thrust strategy is rejected. Eisenhower's broad front becomes official policy. No more priority for Montgomery. Within a week, Patton's fuel allocation increases. Third Army advances another 40 miles by mid-October. Montgomery's forces spend October clearing the Scheldt, vital but unglamorous work. The headlines belong to Patton. In December, when Germans launch the Battle of the Bulge, the contrast sharpens. American forces at Bastogne are surrounded. Montgomery says he needs 3 weeks to organize a counteroffensive. Proper planning, preparation. Patton looks at the map and says 48 hours. Eisenhower stares. That's impossible. You'd turn your entire army 90 degrees in winter. Patton repeats it. 48 hours. He does it. Third Army pivots north and reaches Bastogne in 72 hours. The fastest major redeployment in history. The siege breaks. The German offensive collapses. Montgomery's counteroffensive launches 3 weeks later. By then Patton has driven Germans back 20 miles. Churchill hears the news and writes to his wife. Patton has done it again. Montgomery is still preparing. The lesson becomes military history. Resources don't win battles. Leadership does. Montgomery had everything at Market Garden and failed because he treated war like a problem solved through perfect preparation. Patton succeeded with half because he understood war rewards aggression and speed more than caution. Churchill's judgment was final. He never publicly humiliated Montgomery, but his private assessment was blunt. Montgomery remains capable defensively, but offensive warfare requires different temperament. Patton has it. Montgomery does not. The fuel report that started it, that comparison of 1,400 tons versus 700, of 10,000 casualties versus 2,000, of 0 objectives versus 12 cities, became the document that shifted Allied strategy for the rest of the war. Montgomery never received priority again. Patton never stopped advancing. When Germany surrendered in May 1945, Third Army had penetrated deeper than any Allied force, advancing over 600 miles from Normandy, capturing over 300,000 prisoners. Montgomery reached northern Germany through methodical advance. Patton reached Czechoslovakia by moving so fast Eisenhower ordered him to stop. The difference between them, what Churchill understood that September day reading casualty reports, was simple. Some generals make war look difficult even with everything. Others make it look easy with nothing. History remembers which is which.